Hello, I'm State Representative Fred Finn from the 35th Legislative District. The 2011 session is well underway. I'm sponsoring two particular pieces of legislation that have both had public hearings, and I'd like to share a bit about them with you today. The first is a bill that would help military reservists who are enrolled in higher education institutions and get called to active duty or training for 30 days or less. As the law in our state currently stands, members of the Washington National Guard or the Military Reserve have certain protections if they're called up for active duty for periods of longer than 30 days. Upon return, they can continue and complete their coursework without penalty, or withdraw from school without penalty or fees and return to their studies at a later date. My bill extends those same protections to our reservists who serve on missions of 30 days or less. I was honored that Major General Tim Lowenberg, who is the commander of all Washington Army and Air National Guard forces, joined me to testify before the House Higher Education Committee in favor of this measure. Major General Lowenberg explained that domestic missions, particularly for the National Guard, are often under 30 days in duration. Our National Guard members are called up to respond to natural disasters like floods and wildfires and earthquakes. They put their lives and educations on hold to serve our country on the front lines of disaster relief. I think it's only right that we treat them the same way as members of the military who serve on longer overseas missions. If you're a member of the military who has had to put your education on hold to answer the call of duty, I'd like to hear your story. I'm optimistic this bill will continue to move forward. Next, I have an environmental bill that just passed out of committee. That means it's one step closer to coming to the House floor for a vote. The bill makes it easier for car manufacturers to use clean and safe refrigerants in motor vehicle air conditioners. Toxic and flammable substances are already banned from use in vehicle air conditioners, but the list of what is considered toxic was put into the statute many, many years ago, before many of the current safe alternative substances were even available. So car manufacturers have been forced to refer to a list that can only be updated by the legislature. I think we should cut the red tape and make it easier for businesses to comply with our environmental regulations. Instead of requiring that the legislature constantly update the list of safer refrigerants year after year, let's let the State Department of Ecology update it through simple rulemaking. It's one way to streamline our government and how things work, without sacrificing any protections that keep toxic substances out of our vehicles that shouldn't be there. Finally, I want to give you a brief update on the status of the state budget. The House recently voted on supplemental budget cuts. I joined 54 of my colleagues to vote in favor of these very difficult cuts. For example, we cut funding for class size reduction in kindergarten through 4th grades. As a former school board member, I know this impacts our teachers and our children, and it's a cut I wish we didn't have to make. At the same time, I'm pleased that we were able to preserve levy equalization funding so that our less affluent school districts aren't hurt even more. We also successfully stopped cuts that would have allowed more sex offenders to be unsupervised in our communities. On the whole, I think we balanced cuts with compassion for the least fortunate among us. Although this particular budget vote was not bipartisan, I'm encouraged that in December, Democrats and Republicans came together in a special session to pass some early action cuts. They spared us having to make even deeper cuts now. And I'm optimistic that the spirit of bipartisanship will prevail as we work to pass a budget for the 2011-2013 state biennium. We really are all in this together, and I believe we can get beyond our differences to do what's best for the people of Washington. There are also signs that the economy is slowly starting to improve, and Washington was just named the 5th best state for small business by the well-known website, thestreet.com. As we draft our next state budget and plan for leaner state government, we don't want to compromise our economic competitiveness. Job creation will continue to be a top priority, and making sure that people are able to access the pathways that train them for good careers. As always, I welcome your feedback. My email and phone number are on the screen right now, and I hope I'll hear from you. Until next time, thank you for watching. I'm State Representative Fred Finn of the 35th Legislative District.